Okay guys, so getting straight into it, we're looking at the HLTV fantasy picks. This is for the Blast Showdown 2021 that is happening, or the Spring Showdown rather, that starts on April the 13th, and we have the opening matches at the top. So we have Astralis, OG, G2 Endpoint, Liquid, Dignitas, Spirit, Extra Salt, Gambit, I don't know how you say this, is it NASA or NASR? Furia and MIBR, Heroic and Soar, Vitality, and 9Z. So I took it into a little bit of consideration the matchups that were happening, but I primarily just looked at the previous ratings. So looking at my first pick, it is EliGE. So EliGE at the moment, I do believe, is boasting a 1.19 HLTV 2.0 rating, which is pretty good. And seeing that Liquid are playing Dignitas up first, there's a good potential for some stat boosting there. And also Liquid have had some good form recently, especially in the ESL Pro League, where they beat VP, EG and Fnatic. Granted that EG and Fnatic haven't really looked too good recently, so take that with a bit of a grain of salt. But I do believe EliGE, even in the matches that Liquid have been losing, EliGE still looks really good, and especially under Fallen's leadership, he has really gone to this new level. So my second player will be Hiro from Gambit. Now, Hiro just won the MVP for for the ESL Pro League. Unfortunately, did lose to Heroic in a best of 5, which happened last night. His current rating is a 1.25 on HLTV. I think that's slightly increased because of his performance against Heroic, where I do believe he had a 1.3 rating, don't quote me on that. But Gambit have been looking really good lately, except for their loss to Heroic, but Heroic's no slouch. They're probably the best two teams in the world right now, Gambit and Heroic. And they're playing NAS. I'm just going to call them NASR. I know that's probably wrong, but I can't say. Is it NASA? I say NASA. They're playing NASA first, which is another potential for stat boosting, similar to what EliGE has with Dignitas. Even when beating Astralis, NIP, Furia, and Na'Vi, he's boosted really good ratings. And even when they've lost to teams like Heroic, who are unbeaten throughout the whole ESL Pro League group stage and then into the playoffs. Granted, they played a few less matches due to the play-ins, but even against the top teams, he's still boasting huge numbers, even when they're losing. Well, that one loss in recent memory. And then they did lose to Copenhagen Flames, but that's a bit of an anomaly. Anyway, my third player will be from G2, if I can find him, Hunter. So Hunter, from my understanding, has been placed into a more of a refrag type role, and that's been good for his numbers. Obviously, he's been getting more and more consistent, higher and higher numbers, but his HLTV rating isn't the best, but recently he's been putting up good numbers, and he always has that potential to go huge. And again, against Endpoint, another potential stat boosting situation where he can just go off. He's got really insane mechanics, so I'm sure he can, and especially in that refragger position, I'm sure he can chew through some frags at Endpoint in the Endpoint match. But again, I'm primarily picking him for his potential to just take over games, and he's done that fairly often, to the point where it's more of a feature of G2, the fact that he has this ability to take over games. So because I've gone for 3 what I consider top talents, I did have to compromise slightly with my next 2 picks. So my next pick is from Dignitas, is Freiburg. So Freiburg, I know, hasn't got the best rating, primarily chosen because he's really cheap. And I know he's past his prime, but he still has that potential in him. I'm trying to talk him up a little bit here to justify my pick. Generally, if the team around him performs well, he can have a decent game, but he's not going to take over the server like Hunter, Hiro, or EliGE. So I'm primarily focusing on my Hunter, Hiro, and EliGE to carry the brunt of the force, really, if they don't perform well, if the team's kind of going south. And then my other pick is from Endpoint, and it's I almost picked Makari there. Mighty Max. Now, Mighty Max, the reason why I picked him is it's not the same situation as Freiburg, where I don't believe he really. Well, I do believe rather Mighty Max does have the ability to put up a decent performance. He's shown that he's got decent mechanics, and now with Flames gone, because I believe at this point Flames has now confirmed his departure into OG, and especially now with Thomas coming in, and from my understanding of Thomas is he is not a star player. He's not going to take up the space that Flames was previously taken up, but I could be wrong. And from watching him in the past, especially from their games on Inferno, he has had some decent performances. Not really some standout performances like you expect from Hunter, Hiro, or EliGE, but some decent performances. And the other options, I didn't really have experiences against top teams, so the reason why I chose Mighty Max over some of the other potential options is that Mighty Max actually has experience in Endpoint against top teams. So yes, he's the IGL, and yes, he's not going to go huge, but at least he's not going to get smashed by these top teams because he has had that experience. So I'm hoping that experience can sort of help him in the ratings department. And also, one thing I've noticed from him is he's quite a versatile player. He can pick up the AWP a few times. He's gone from the entry and he's anchored a bit, but I'm not sure if that's just situational based or if he's willingly choosing to put himself in those situations. So let's confirm that. So now looking at the roles. So the main AWP, we're obviously going to give that to. Oops, sorry. I'm going to give that to Hiro. Is it loading? Yep. To Hiro, that's an obvious choice. He's the main AWPer for Gambit. That's going really well. Support. I'm going to give that to Freiburg for more obvious reasons. He's the IGL of Dignitas. He's playing quite a supportive position. So attacker, we're looking at T-side ratings, the max bonus above 1.35. There's a penalty for it though, which is a bit of a issue, but I'm going to give it to EliGE anyway because I'm quite confident in his T-sides, especially on maps like Dust 2, where you can just take over the T-side with his superior mechanics. Clutch King, I would have given that Hiro, but I can't. Leader, I'm not really going to give to any of them. Sat Hunter, I would have given that again to EliGE, but I think the T-side's more towards his liking. Again, none of these. Defender, I'm actually going to give to Hunter. What's the penalty? 0.85. My reasoning behind this is, I know he's got good mechanics, so I'm confident in his ability to anchor down bomb sites and really just that multi-frag potential that he brings to help boost his ratings. And then I could give Mighty Max the noob one just to see how that plays out, because I know he's not going to put up massive numbers, so I doubt he's going to get a rating of 1.15 or over. He usually hovers around the 0.9 to about 105 rating, so I'm hoping that doesn't come back to bite me and he just has these mental games. So bottom of Scoreboard, do I want to give that to Mighty Max? That's the thing. Clutch, I can give that to Hiro. Hiro is a really good clutch player. Top of Scoreboard, I'm actually going to give that to Hunter, because I know I was going to give it to EliGE. I did think about giving it to EliGE, but there's so many star players on Liquid. You have Fallen, who has the potential to go on top of the Scoreboard. You've got Naf, as well as Stewie. So there's more likelihood that Hunter, especially because Nexa hasn't been performing too well, neither has Nico in terms of raw numbers, so Hunter's more likely to be on top of the Scoreboard. If we look at 30 bomb, flashes I'm going to give to Freiburg because I know he's been playing a bit more of a supportive role. Consistent, I'm going to give that to EliGE because EliGE has been consistently putting up numbers. That's the good thing about him, is even games where he's been a little bit quieter, he's still boasting about a 1.05 or 1.10 rating on HLTV. So assists, I can give that to Mighty Max, simply because he's an IGL. I expect him to get traditionally more neg damage than the other players, sort of an example set by Astralis. So I'm kind of hoping that he falls into that category as well. Not being extremely familiar with Endpoint, I'm just more going on just an instinct with putting him in the assist bracket, because I don't watch a lot of Endpoint, so I'm not overly familiar with his playstyle, to be honest. Anyway, so that's it for my lineup for the HLTV Fantasy for the Blast Showdown.